Hello. Hello and welcome to the Purple Portal. And your reluctant mystic who's giving this program, Elaine Bartlett. As you could imagine, with a name like the Purple Portal, today is an ideal new beginning day. Matter of fact, for a program coming to you from the Space Coast, I consider this a liftoff. This is a first cosmic radio program, I believe, of its type from the Space Coast. So together we're going to lift off, and you're going to hear some insights, information, revelations that come to you from a background that is enormous in my case, as well as my attempt to bring you information from cosmic realms. Today actually is considered in the galactic calendar a galactic portal, which is why I chose this day at this time to begin the first show. So we're going to have a lot of fun with this, and your calls are welcome. And if you'd like to call in, you can do that. I actually have a number for you, which I'll give you in a moment because I don't know where the heck I put it. But we're going to be friends here. We're going to learn to laugh together, have fun together, which is why you get to call in and go, what the heck? What does that mean? So here is the number. It's 321-806-3159. I'm going to give that again, 321-806-3159. And before we get too far, I'm going to share a little bit about who the heck I am. Well, I thought about this long and hard because for many years as I've been teaching and lecturing across the United States, that has always been one of the most challenging questions. It's kind of like coming up with an elevator speech. I think we've all grown far beyond elevator speeches. We are limitless and we are boundless. So to lock us into a few words of who we are and getting in and off and out of that elevator makes little or no sense to me. So here's a little bit of what kind of being I am. Just like so many of you, I am a wanderer and a wonderer. And I suspect it's the wondering part that led me to wander, and it's the wondering part that has led me on a journey of really over 45 years to discover who am I? And that's the keynote for all of us these days. Who are you? And if you think you're a label, think again, because you are far grander than any label I could figure out. But some of the labels that people have pinned on me over the years, I'm a daughter. Some of you have been daughters and sons, or you wouldn't actually be in a body right now. I'm a sister. I've been a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. I'm a friend. I'm a neighbor. I'm a storyteller. As an astrologer, both Western and Vedic, ancient systems, newer systems, I'm a star reader. Matter of fact, just like you, I'm a speck of stardust. I'm a gentle whisperer. I'm also a reluctant mystic. What does that reluctant mystic actually refer to? Well, it refers to my time of dabbling in the ancient and profound and very accurate discipline of numerology. In numerology, a certain number, the number 7 in my case, keeps popping up. And that 7 is a mystic. Why do I refer to myself as the reluctant mystic? Well, for years and years and years, I kind of whined to the universe. I'd like a normal 9 to 5, 2.5 kids, picket fence, dog kind of life. None of that ever happened. So finally, after a great number of years, I gave up whining and owned the fact that this great gift of being a mystic can relate to almost all circumstances, all people. It's inclusive, it's embraceable, and it brought me into many areas of life where I could actually embrace first myself and then you. Because I'm a watcher and a listener, and from what I see and hear, we've pretty much all forgotten just how embraceable and lovable we are. We're mired in guilt and shame and poor choices and criticism, our own criticisms and others' criticisms. So it's been a long journey of finding that lovable place. And the irony is, this planet, believe it or not, as you look around, and I say that with great chagrin, you and I came to this planet to not only learn to love, but to see love in one another and to become the essence of it. And that's called third dimensional density. And many people are trying to get out of that lesson these days, and they don't own it, and they surely don't want to see that they are lovable. Most of us have been told not only are we not lovable, you're not worthy. I grew up under a discipline that we actually beat our chest on Sunday mornings saying, I am not worthy. I was thinking about that this morning, getting ready for this show, and thinking, how depressing is that? How dangerous? How dare they reduce us to worthlessness? When you are not worthy, you shut down one of your chakras. You shut down your pineal gland. And that darn pituitary gland, which is aligned right up in there with it, also takes a hit. Look, it's bad enough that by using, you're not going to believe this one, but by using toothpaste with fluoride and bringing fluoride in your water, you also shut down those two glands. Now you might say, oh, what the heck? Who needs them anyway? Well, number one, it's very simple. If you weren't to use them, they wouldn't have been there in the first place. The great bosses would not have created us in such a manner. But by having those sacred glands, and they are sacred, it was to further connect you with your sense of worthiness, with your sense of essence and light and love that you actually are. So you could imagine this reluctant mystic takes many deep sighs because my training has been so extensive and because I am a watcher and a listener. The deep sighs are profound. I sigh for myself and I sigh for each of us with a sense of, could you now wake up? Would you want to wake up? It's a gift to wake up, actually, and you actually have to qualify for the gift. In the old days, meaning a couple of years ago, I would get very anxiety-ridden with people like, wake up, keep up, come on, get on the pony, let's go. Until I finally learned enough to realize, well, that's kind of obnoxious. It's a grace and a gift to wake up. So how exactly do you possibly qualify for it? Well, it's a discipline. And I know that's an uncomfortable word for most of us. But the discipline involves you doing you. You learning to love you to the utmost. That's the first discipline. It's the biggest discipline. That means taking care of your body, certainly first and foremost, because it's a sacred temple. It's certainly despised often. I know we women, we seem to have a corner on looking in a mirror and absolutely just despising what we see at any age and at any stage. I can remember back in my 20s when, as I look back now, I think, dang, I looked pretty darn good. And thinking as I looked in the mirror at those times, oh my golly, this is wrong and that's wrong. It didn't get any better in the 30s and the 40s. And when you're supposed to be blossoming as a mature, beautiful woman, holy smokes, that's when the world turns against you and start using the old word and totally dismissing you. Well, the more we learn to step into that beauty that we are, and I don't care what you actually look on the outside, because soon more and more of us will be trained to pretty much look right through that and see the real essence, the truth of you, the magnificence of you, the radiant gods and goddesses of each of you. Now, that's going to take a generous heart. And another deep sigh, a lot of people don't have a generous heart as far as seeing the magnificence of each other. A number of years ago, I was doing a whole ton of personal consultations for people. And I remember I was living down in Boca Raton, Florida, and I remember a woman that I had never met called in. Somebody had recommended her, and apparently I came with flying colors. But I could hear she had a chip on her shoulder. I could also hear in her something about her accent told me that she was a different race than I am. Well, of course, the humor is, I'd like to ask now, what exactly race is that? Because I kind of thought we were all one race, the human race. So if your skin tone is a little deeper or darker or a different color than mine, well, duh, it's because you were born in a different portion of this globe, and the different conditions gave a different texture, tone, and coloring. But nonetheless, this gal with a little chip on her shoulder started to say that she was very, very adamant and almost belligerent in the fact that she was of the black race. And I let her belligerence air itself for a few minutes, and I said, I beg to differ with you. You're not black. Oh, and that triggered something. She became more belligerent. And I said, from what I can see of all of your charts that I've prepared and your number pattern, you're anything but black. However, you are purple. And that stopped her. And she said, what do you mean I'm purple? I said, well, purple is the highest frequency there is. And it's a magnificent frequency. It allows you full expression in your creativity. It allows you to go to dimensions and places that most people aren't ready for. Well, everything dropped away from her. We became very, very dear friends. And to this day, we laugh because I'm not white, she's not black. But hopefully, we all get to be a color, a real color that has some meaning. And a color is based on the numbers of your birthday and the frequency that you are emanating. And quite frankly, that's how the great ones off the planet see you and know you and qualify you for the next assignment. So when your heart is open, your color could be pink and green. So it's a lovely, lovely thing. But in the human race, I kind of think it's time to expand our consciousness. And in a day like today, where a galactic portal is wide open, that expanded consciousness is what it's all about. So I have digressed, as you could tell. I got off track on being a reluctant mystic. But I am a seeker of truth, and I'm a seeker of light, as actually each one of us is encoded to be. Many people in this day and age have become derailed. They've been bought, they've been had, they've been bamboozled. But the truth of it is, you and I are seekers of truth and light. I'm a citizen of planet Earth. I was born in the United States, but oddly, many people in my lifetime have said, "Where are you from? You're not from here, are you?" And I kind of laugh, thinking, probably not. Because I more resonate with being a cosmic being. A cosmic being that gravitates toward planets that are in need of remembering. I suspect that's why I've come. This planet, this whole system, is in need of remembering. You are in need of restoring your divine dignity, restoring it, reclaiming it, balancing it out, celebrating it, having it grow larger. You know, many of us as children, we heard our parents say, "So who do you think you are?" They probably didn't even say it that nicely. And they probably had a few cuss and curse words in there. Well, who do you think you are? I ask it with a whole different tone. I ask it with a point of remembering. I know who you are. I know who you are better than you do. Several years ago, my guides and teachers helped me from off the planet to pen a lovely, simple little book called The Spiritual Laws. And it's a handbook to higher truth. And it's one of these books you kind of open anywhere. It's got no page numbers, which kind of could drive people crazy, but it's much more fun that way. And one of the laws actually says it addresses who you are. And this one kind of makes people absolutely cringe, and especially if they're in a thinking system that is narrow. Well, the answer that I give to who you are, so brace up and straighten your back, you are God in drag, disguised as, cleverly, as the persona you're walking around as. You know, the wonderful gentleman who took a chance on running this kind of unusual show, knowing full well that he was now going to be exposed to a reluctant mystic, he's God in drag. To me, he's larger than life God in drag, because he has the tools for greater and greater expression for people like myself. There's a couple of other people I want to give a shout out to. The woman who, she didn't insist, but she gently dragged me out of a corner of seclusion where most mystics are much more comfortable hanging out in. And she's a realtor down in Melbourne. Her name is Jean Newell. If you ever are in that area for housing, you got a gal that can see through things. She can identify needs and wants, but does it with integrity. Integrity is kind of a lost word on the planet these days. So she deserves a shout out. And there's another Jeannie who also gets a big shout out, because I don't think I'd be able to be here without what she has done to me and for me in the past couple of months. You see, when I'm burnt out, as many of you, I did go into seclusion because I was burnt out. And I was kind of tired of wandering and wondering. I was like done with it all. And so the universe honors that, and I became what they call good and sick, which to me is such a ridiculous oxymoron. You cannot be good and sick at the same time. They're different frequencies. They don't exist. But that's how disoriented human beings have become. They mix things that don't go together. But nonetheless, I opened my home to a little gathering, and a woman came in by the name of Jeannie McGuire, Dr. Jeannie McGuire. And she kind of stood up and said she was an acupuncturist. Well, my system only responds to acupuncture or the gentler therapies of acupressure, color healing, any of the energy healings. For the last 40 years, I have not been anywhere near Western modalities. They're simply too harsh for me. They still work for some people. They don't work for me. Well, Jeannie has kind of single-handedly rebuilt my immune system and every other system so that I feel like I've been rewired. So by being taken down, as sometimes the light beings do, they take you down. They take you down to rewire you and put you back together again. And I suspect I've had to be rewired so that I could present this kind of information to you, and I could present it fearlessly and joyfully with full intent to get you to think, to get you to open your mind, to get you to clear the clutter of every dang thing you're carrying. Most of you are carrying way too much. And I have a thought about that. Your destiny is to fly. You can't fly when your arms are full of all your junk that you're carrying energetically. So I'm here to help you remember who you are. I'm also a teacher, an astrologer. I do something called compass and the flying star method of feng shui. I'm an occasional rainmaker, an occasional miracle worker, and a very simple, understated messenger. My connections are superb. They're magical. They're filled with light. They're filled with every good thing that helps a simple wanderer and wonderer like myself bring you healthy information. Many people now have begun to work on their bodies and get them healthy. Well, you're more than your body. You are your mind, your emotions, and your spirit. So there's a whole lot that's now ready for bigger, better, best. It's just at that cycle. And today, being a portal, it's like even if you can absorb some of what's coming through the wiring to you and through the airwaves to you, your life will be shifted. So why did I call this particular program the Purple Portal? Well, I guess I'm pretty much attached to the color purple. When I was on assignment in northern New Jersey for much of early 2000s, my inner guidance helped me open a retail business. Now, I had no business opening a retail business because I absolutely knew zero about retail. However, we pulled it off. And what they told me would be a grand name for that lovely boutique was something called the Purple pear. Now, why the purple pear? Well, my last name is Bartlett, and I'm going to leave it right there for the rest of you to figure that one out. The purple pear grew so rapidly in this little town that within 2 years, I actually had to expand to about 3,000 square feet. And it was a gathering place. It was a place so filled with loving, powerful, illuminated information that I like to believe that much of the Northeast's energy is just a little better because that presence was there. So when it came time to select a radio show, I'm like, oh man, what do I call this thing? And I was in and out of names and I don't know. Couldn't come up with one. Thought maybe it would be The Reluctant Mystic, but that kind of felt almost too personal. Well, it just so happened that once again, the color purple showed itself to me, and the color itself reminded me of its very powerful frequency. Color purple is the color of royalty. This is used by the kings of ancient times as well as now. Amethysts, all of the purple stones, they bring power. They bring power from Gaia, Mother Earth, as well as star systems that are connected with this kind of presentation. And portal, well, I have to tell you, even my 7-year-old grandson Jasper, when I questioned him about the word portal, stepped right up to the plate. Oh, yes, Lainey. That's what he gets to call me, special name. Yes, Lainey, a portal is a secret opening. It's a gateway. Well, there I knew it. I knew it was going to be the purple portal because this show is going to bring you gateways, openings, portals of information from within yourself and allow you to connect with all your other selves on this planet, and other planets, other star systems, other galaxies. There is so much that's happening right now that it's mind-boggling. So I'm going to kind of now, that's who I am. In a nutshell, it took me a long time to tell you who the heck I was. Next shows will be a little easier. I am me, and you are you, and we are one. So I want to give you a little background of things that have happened that are imprinting and affecting what will happen between now and November 4th. On August 18th, we had a lunar eclipse. And this eclipse triggered a release of energy that moves us toward major shifts in consciousness. So look back. August 18th was not that far ago. What kind of change did you experience? Was it slight or life-altering? I'll tell you what happened to me on August 18th. I came to this radio station to see whether I would be a fit and it would be a fit for me. So I would say, yeah, August 18th was darn life-altering for me. Maybe it could be you needed extra love and extra support and extra attention at that time until now. Here's a big one. Maybe around that time, you stopped caring so much about what others think of you. I believe as we each get over that hurdle, we're going to do a whole lot better. When I start wondering what others think of me, I quickly superimpose a mantra right in the middle of my brain, which goes like this: what others think of me is none of my business. That's a good one. Maybe you let go at that time of having to needle or criticize another. Or perhaps you finally recognized that needling and criticism, whether you give it or get it, is extraordinarily stifling. to me, there's no such thing as constructive criticism to begin with. So you could see that time was a very interesting portal. And every eclipse is a course corrector. It means you have to change something in your life. And P.S., only you can change something in your life. This is a free will planet. I can't change you. I can't fix you. And boy, was that a good thing to let go of. That kind of happened a few years ago. It's not my job to fix you. It's my job to share information. You take from that what applies, what works for you, what feels right. And incidentally, with information like someone like myself delivers, what doesn't feel right this moment may feel right next week, next month, next year. I've had people, I had someone, she's a niece of mine actually, lives up in the Northeast. Apparently, now this would truly go back 40 years ago. Can't be that long, 30 years ago. I must have done some sort of astrology reading for this lovely young woman. And at the time, I said to her, she had just graduated from the police academy, hell-bent on being a policewoman, and she did it very well. But at that time, I must have said to her, oh, but your career eventually will be in politics. Well, as the story goes, it seems she walked out of that consultation for many, many years. Every day said to herself, there's no way, she's wrong, that's not going to happen. Well, this darling young spirit called me a couple of weeks ago and said, I have to tell you something. And I'm like, okay. Because I don't keep in touch with her, so I couldn't imagine what the heck she had to tell me. She reminded me of the story that I had told her. Somehow she was going to be in politics. Well, about a month ago, she was appointed to be the first woman chief of police in the county that she's in. And she said, and the job is political. So it took her a good many years to figure out that maybe there's some truth in clean information that's coming at you. So don't discount it. Remember, you are enormously large in your energy field. And somewhere that piece that can't resonate this moment, this day, could resonate 30 years from now. So the eclipse that happened brought a lot more ability for you to be self-confident, self-aware, more conscious of your thoughts and your choices. Incidentally, that's called accountability and responsibility. So the next course corrector, or eclipse, actually came September 1st. It happened in the evening between the 30th and September 1st. Well, it was a new moon in Virgo. It was called the solar eclipse. And this eclipse is enormous because this eclipse, because it's connected with the mind, I must ask you or remind you that it's time for you to do a lot of mental mind cleaning and drop pretty much everything of what you've ever been taught, what you've ever believed. Pretty much of it's filled with disinformation. It's bogus. It doesn't serve you now. What served you even last month probably doesn't serve you now. So this particular eclipse was designed for you to become more discerning and discriminating about what you are allowing into your mind and your entire energy field. Along with that would go things like the media, the whole ruckus about anything political. You're not going to fix it. The choices are what they are. Your job is to fix and do you. And all of this has come during what some of you may know the term a retrograde Mercury. So retrograde Mercury, and the retrograde Mercury itself is in Virgo. This has to do with, until September 22nd, really paying attention to what is disclosed and learning to trust your gut about it. If your gut is not aligned with what you're seeing and hearing, turn off what you're seeing and hearing and go take a walk. Go take a walk in the forest, take a walk around the block, take a walk at the beach, because you're correct and the information is not valid. Years ago, I lived in Jersey. I lived up in northern New Jersey, which is a bedroom community of Manhattan. So I was there for all of the hoopla around 9/11. Although I was out of the state at the exact time. And when I heard the information, I thought, there's something wrong. This is not correct information. I didn't know why. And I could not watch the television, would not watch the television. And now, of course, 15 years later, much is being disclosed that is not correct information. But you have to listen. You have to honor what you're hearing. You don't have to be out campaigning for anything, but you have to learn to discern and know the truth within yourself. This particular solar eclipse is triggering something that will occur in a few days from now on September 10th. The power and the force of that eclipse is going to be fully activated by that time. I have no idea what it is. Keep your antenna up, keep your feelers up, and pay attention. You may not like what you're hearing, but pay attention. You know, I suppose in the next 2 months, there will be a great deal of information given about extraterrestrial energies. Don't be so quick to disclose them, to discount them, and don't be so quick to be in fear. There is nothing to fear except what the media generates. At the end of this month, on September 26th, we've got something called Pluto, a planet which, of course, scientists have tried to discredit. It is an energy field. You can't discredit energy. But Pluto has been hanging out in Capricorn. And it's been hanging out in Capricorn for about 8 years now. And it's going to be going what we call in forward motion or direct. And Pluto actually rules the underworld of the subconscious. Pluto can be a very transformative energy or very destructive. And Pluto in Capricorn has to do with the government, our government, and the governments of the world. So it ought to be some very interesting times in September and October. Pluto is a power that is available not only to the government, but to large corporations and organizations, including the military-industrial complex, which all of these corporations and complexes have enormous leverage to control your destiny and my destiny. When this force is used positively, it represents the advancement of each and every member of society, all societies. When it's used negatively or destructively, it brings the downfall of humanity. And the downfall is simply caused by personal lust for power. I'm concerned for people of this world that we're on, that we're floating on together, because there's been a lack of interest. there's been so much information at cross purposes that nobody knows what's real anymore. Or so they say. If you take the time to be still, you darn well know what's real. One of the things I have it still pushes a button in me. I've really tried to get away from all buttons being pushed, because if it's a trigger point in me, or if it's a trigger point in you, it's simply something we have not resolved. But the trigger that gets pushed in me is when someone says to me, I don't know. I get really cuckoo. You do know. No, they insist. I don't know what to do. I don't know about that. Biggest thing is I don't know what to do. Well, it simply means they've boxed themselves into a corner and don't have the creativity, or they don't use the creativity, and perhaps they don't have the gumption, nor want to do the hard work of taking themselves out of their own corner. How could you not have the creativity if you are God in drag? How could you not have the gumption and the courage if you are God in drag? These are God qualities. It's not you. It's not the personality of you. It's the core essence of you. And that's what it's time to focus on. We're going to be so much happier. Geez, our life will be so much easier. And those that have held the puppet strings for so many eons, their time is up. They know it. It's okay. They actually did what they were sent to do. They held the space for a negative polarity. They held the space for fear. How are you going to learn fearlessness without confronting fear? How are you going to have a backbone if you have nothing to stand up to? If you haven't been a marshmallow, how do you get to have courage? It's just the yin and yang. So their cycle of yang has worn itself down. It actually occurred in 2012. They're aware of it. And so now, that's why those of us who have been studying, who have been contemplating, who have been doing the smallest steps to correct their life, that's why it's our time now to join together. You'll be stronger in a little community. Find a community. Come out of your closet and learn to give that hug and receive that hug. I don't know. I think it was a Gershwin tune, Embraceable You. Could be wrong. One of those wonderful classical songs, Embraceable You. You're it. Some of you, because I can feel it, probably are holding your breath. And maybe you've been holding your breath for a long, long time. Simple breathing exercises do wonders. It's time to breathe. And it's time to breathe into all of the things that you've allowed to hold you back. Nothing really holds us back except what we allow to hold us back. So we've participated in a lot of this by our lack of interest. Unfortunately for many, many Americans, and I have to point the finger at Americans because they've become couch potatoes. They've become lax, particularly lax in good nutrition. It's easier to go through a drive-through somewhere and shove down something that it fills a void, but there's not much nutrition in it. Therefore, not only did you not feed your body, you didn't feed your mind, you short-circuited your emotions, and then the connection with your higher self is weak to nil. So the simple exercise of pick the apple over the cupcake. And not every time, There's still going to be a cupcake. There's still going to be a Tootsie Roll in life. It's the way life is here. But the more you honor your physical temple and you stand clearly in the better and better choices. Our food has been tampered with, and you all know it. It's no secret. It's no news. To pretend it hasn't been, for those of you listening to this show, you wouldn't be listening if you were in denial. That's why you're listening. You're coming out of your closet. You're coming out of denial. But for those of you who are borderline cases, pay a little bit more. Get the fruit that has not been sprayed to death. If what you're eating has been sprayed with toxins and pesticides to death, that just might undermine your entire molecular system. Food was designed as a support system for the temple. All of the beings that created the food chain, all of the creator gods that created food, did it in a certain way, with you in mind, and that's been tampered with. So when you can, make the better choices. Get organic food. Ask questions. The dear man at the vegetable counter was pretty horrified a few months ago when I said to him, how come I can only get organic apples from Australia? What's happened to organic growers in the United States? He actually turned white. And I felt badly for him because I knew I put him on the spot. And I did it for a purpose, not to make him feel badly. I wanted him to think. I wanted him to ask his manager. I wanted the manager to have go to the higher ups to go to the growers and support the growers instead of harming them. So it's a chain link fence, and we're all part of that darn chain link fence. And it's important that you are accountable for what you're doing, what you're putting into your mouth, what you're putting into your children's mouth. And then, of course, we get to where you're living, choices of where you're living. Sometimes, yes, you gravitate to a place because your family's there. But if you're living in a crime-infested place, the portals are open for you to leave and take your family with you. I know it's a big step, but rather than live in a crime-infested area that right now, perhaps you don't have the wherewithal to change. The whole drug culture is off the charts. It's the single biggest issue that our guides are concerned about. Whether they be drugs from Western medicine or drugs, street drugs, this is their biggest concern because of the tampering with your temple. So it's about accountability. It's about the fact that think it through. What's being said here? How much courage did it take me to come and present a lifetime, a portfolio of information? Information is light. Light is power. Self-empowerment is what this show is going to be about. It's about turning you purple and blue and yellow and green. It's about turning you back into the remembering of everything your soul is and wants to express. Together, I think we can do it. Together, I don't think we can do it. I know we can do it. I know me, and I know you, because you are the other me. How can I not know you? honor you, respect you, treasure you, value you, love you, embrace you, hold you, need you, and I love you more.